Alright, let's do a Gitz unit review. This is not a tier list, but before we have to thank my patrons. I'm on a goal to get 25 patrons by the end of the summer. Thanks to Baron Dice for supporting the channel and Wiberian for providing some pretty sick art. Wow, that's not right. Okay, so we're doing a Gloomspike Gitz unit review. So let's just start. I mean, we're all kind of familiar with the spells and the enhancements, but we'll kind of talk about them as we go through, as we look at stuff. So first up, we have Kragnos. So I've seen some interesting lists with Kragnos and Trolls. Kragnos is better when, like, his 3d6 charge is going to be better when the slower that your units are. And so for Trolls, he actually might be pretty okay. So he's still super, super expensive. But I think he'll probably be better off at the very beginning of this edition than at the end. I think, or at least like maybe 6 months from now, I think that people are still like getting used to how battle tactics works. And so if you play people and they're like, I choose seize the center, it's like, okay, well, like I've already denied that. And crashing Trolls into the middle is not the worst idea in the world because, like I said, of how slow they are. So, and then when he comes in, right, I personally hate this rampage, right? It's like, hey, guess what? The most likely thing that happens is nothing, right? 1 in 6 times, nothing's going to happen, which I guess is sort of like rolling a 2 up, right? But if you don't get a 7, then the lowest, or then a tick lower is 6. So you roll 3 and 3, so it's 9 mortal wounds, which is like if you roll double 3s. I mean, it'll blow things up 40% of the time, right? The minimum roll that you could get is 8. That's greater than 7, so 4 times 4. So if half the time, or like 1 out of 6 times, nothing's going to happen. 2.5 out of 6 times, so about like 45% of the time, or whatever it is. Or like 40% of the time, whatever it is. He's going to like just delete whatever he ran into. So, I mean, that's what he's here for. He's basically a 3d6 charge aura that costs 680 points. And then when he goes in, he's kind of scary. But his attacks, like, don't feel as strong as they used to. Right? It's on 2s to wound, but I don't know. He's okay. I haven't actually played him on the table yet, but lots of people have, and they've been telling me about it. And, again, I think he's probably stronger now than he will be in 6 months. In Gitz. I think when people kind of figure out what the deal is, they'll just be like, oh, okay, he's got a 3d6 charge, so I kind of understand what that means. He's better this edition than last edition. His save is worse, but he doesn't just melt to mortal wounds. I think he feels a lot more fair now. But, I mean, he should be a 3, but like whatever. 15 control score. Scragrod, I think, is pretty strong right now. Because we're sort of seeing that we need to have lots of casts in as few drops as possible, and so anything that has the Wizard 2 keyword I think is relatively strong. Okay, he's got a 4-up ward, he's unique and a War Master, which is probably his biggest downside, the fact that he has to be the general, and so you're going to have to be giving your enhancements to other units, right? Fangs of the Bad Moon is still a really bad spell. Choosing whether the Bad Moon moves or stays is a strong ability if you're playing Trolls. And again, that's just because the Moonlight on Trolls is actually really good. Like giving a board wide, if you have the Moon, or the idea, what you do is you wait until the Moon is in the center of the battlefield, and then you use this ability to keep it there for an extra turn. So keeping an extra turn of board wide +1 to save on Trolls is strong. So this ability is pretty strong. He doesn't give off the light anymore himself, but he still can cast the Endless Spell, right? So, yeah, Fangs of the Bad Moon, right? Roll a number of dice equal to the unmodified casting roll for each 3-up, inflict 1 mortal wound. So the average is 7. So roll 7 dice, right? It's not bad. Pretty good. So I like that. Yeah, he's still good. And then this ability where you can redeploy 4. This is still a good ability. The only problem with it is that it says Moon Clan unit. So you're not going to be able to do this with Trolls, unfortunately. But I don't really know what you would use it with, because I know most of the Squigs are Moon Clan, but they're not going to be hanging around. They're going to be running about, so This might be good if you have like a Gobapalooza hanging out, right? I could probably do it for you. But he's still, I think he's still really good. He's 2 casts in 1 drop. His points are better. I should probably actually pull up the points, hey? Let's see, AOS docs, points, Gitz points. I'm just gonna stick them over here on my other monitor so I can quickly refer to them. So Scraggerot right now is 220 points. So maybe he's a little bit expensive, but 2 cast, yeah, he's probably a little bit expensive, but a 2 cast wizard, right? With a good War Scroll spell, like he's solid. Which is good. He should see play. The Loon Boss, I don't think is very good, just because I don't think that playing with like Stabas or whatever is very good. Right, pick a friendly non-hero Moon Clan infantry unit that does not use the fight ability this turn and is within combat range of the target. The target can be picked to use the fight ability immediately. So this guy fights with people, right? So like, you declare fight ability for this unit, so you pick him to fight, and then he gets to like drag a unit, a Moon Clan infantry unit into combat with you. So this could be like Gobapalooza, Fanatics, you know, Stabas, Shootas. What else is Moon Clan infantry? Spore Splatas. So I mean, of all these things, it looks like the best is going to be the Loon Smash of Fanatics, right? But unfortunately, his other ability only works with Moon Clan Stabas. So he's obviously meant to fight with the Moon Clan Stabas, and I just don't think that that playstyle is like very strong. I also personally just hate rolling that many dice to deal very little damage, right? So his other ability, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go through every ability on every War Scroll, right? Just to give you a kind of general sense about how I'm feeling about all these units, but the Loon Boss is kind of a pass for me, just because I'm not really feeling the play style of all the Stabas. I don't think it's particularly strong. Got to be fast this edition. If you want to cram a bunch of units into the middle, I'm kind of feeling almost like Rockets are good. Like, I'm not saying that Stabas like aren't playable or that Stabas aren't good. I'm just thinking that like reinforced units of Stabas with Loon Bosses all fighting together in the middle of the map, I just can't see it. They don't deal enough damage. They just don't deal enough damage. High volume of dice for low return. Yeah. Gobapalooza. I'm kind of going back and forth on Gobapalooza right now. The thing that I really like about Gobapalooza is that it's a wizard without taking up a drop. So this is a spell cast that you get without a drop. And so for 150 points, I think to myself like, well, what if this War Scroll had nothing else on it? What if all that it had was Wizard 1, Infantry, and then like this 4-up, 5-up, 6-up ward over the course of the game? How would I feel about it if it didn't have the Gobapalooza no what's-its? If that was totally blank and empty? And I'm kind of thinking that I would like it. Like, this is something that happens to players where, you know, they look at a unit and they're like, oh, this ability's not good, so it must not be a good unit. It's like, yeah, but like maybe even without that ability, it still is a good unit for its point cost. Like, it's 150 points for a no-drop, one-cast wizard. Doesn't that sound good to you? For 150 points? And then he's got this little thing, too. We're on a 3-up. Right? Adding 1 to run and charge doesn't seem like it's fine. Like, it's probably not bad for Rockets. But again, there's very little that gets to run and charge. Unless you're playing a Rabble-Rouser. Right? So, but if you are, you know, sure. Like, +1 to run and charge. That seems okay. I guess just +1 to charge rolls is actually not too bad. This is okay for Bounders. It's okay for Rock Guts, right? Adding 1 to Rend is also fine. You know, Rock Guts have lots of Rend, but what's 1 more Rend? You know, if your opponent's playing like Ard Boys, 3 Rend is going to be good, right? Like, why not? And then picking a visible enemy unit within 12 inches, turning off their commands is also pretty strong, right? Because your opponent's going to try to do things like use their counter charges to deny your battle tactics, and this way you can be like, well, I see what's happening here, and so there's on a 3-up I'm going to be able to secure that for me, or on a 3-up I'm going to be able to deny my opponent their battle tactics. So actually not bad. I've kind of warmed up on Gobapalooza a little bit. They definitely got toned down since the last edition. They used to be a 2-cast wizard, but just being a 1-cast wizard for no drops for 150 points seems okay. Seems okay. Rabble-Rouser. I haven't seen anybody actually play this yet. No one's really commented on how this is, on how Rabble-Rouser is. The thing that Rabble-Rouser really has going for him is that he can drop into... he's like a Moon Clan agitator, right? So he's a hero that you can take that doesn't take a drop. In all the Greenskin books, I think that the Rabble-Rouser is the best one of these, right? In Iron Jaws, we have the Ardboy boss, which I don't particularly like. In Cruel Boys, we have the Kill Boss, which I don't particularly like. I kind of hate. People still make arguments to me about why it's good, and I just can't see it. It's like he's adding so few points or so few damage. It's like it's just better to have another unit of monster killers every single time. Like, I just can't imagine it. Ugh, pardon, 1 sec. I hope I'm not coming down with a cold, because coming down with a cold sucks. So, being able to give the monsters run and charge is just actually kind of not bad for 120 points. The thing is, he doesn't take up a drop, right? So if you're looking at... I don't even know. Trolls might play this guy. Spiders might play this guy. So if you're playing a bunch of big stuff in your list, this might be... Like, I wouldn't build around him, but he might be the last thing I tag onto a list if I'm running some monsters. So, I don't know. He's okay. Fungoid Cave Shaman, pretty standard. Wizard, once per battle. +1 power level caster. So the thing I like about him a lot is that he's cheap. He's only 100 points. So he's a Wizard 1 who can sometimes be a Wizard 2 for 100 points. Not bad. He doesn't have any defensive, can't see him anymore, which is unfortunate, but... Like, he's good, gets the job done. It's nice to have cheap wizards. Especially right now, I feel. Squig Boss. So he has this ability, Feeding Time. Right, pick a friendly squig unit within combat range. So this could be herd, bounders, all those things. And then on a 2-up, you can either add 3 inches to the move characteristic. So this is going to be okay if you're playing herd, because herd are slower than anything else. Or they can get crit mortals. So this is good for everybody, but the higher volume of dice you're throwing, the better that crit mortals becomes. But unfortunately, I just don't see him, because I don't see the herd being very good, and I think that's kind of where his specialty is. Bounders and hoppers are too fast. He's not going to be able to keep up. He can sort of buff them, and then they sort of run away, right? And so for 1 turn, they're going to get crit mortals or something, and that's all right. But like after turn 1, like this guy in 3rd edition would just follow around bricks of herd and give them these buffs, and I'm not sure if that playstyle is going to be good. If that playstyle is good, he's good, and if it's not, then it's not. Yeah. He, unfortunately... So, like, you could take Squig Boss, and you could take a Rabble-Rouser inside of his regiment, because I also forgot that Rabble-Rouser also works for beasts. So he can give 3 move to beasts, right? And then Rabble-Rouser can give them run and charge. So we're kind of getting into an area here where if you're really like, I want to play a bunch of herd, where that might be the way to do it, where you can kind of get them on turn 1. Because if you add 3 to the movement score, they become 6 movement. But then they just melt. Like, they just melt. You know, they just melt. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Loon Boss on Mangler, Squig. He has a once per game, add 1 to wound rolls for Squig attacks. He's got a good rampage. Roll the number, like, it's a 4-up Horde Buster, which is quite strong, right? Like a 5-up Horde Buster is relatively standard. Cruel Boys have a 6-up one, which feels kind of weak, but a 4-up one, well, it's to a maximum of 10. Never mind. So it's like 5 mortal wounds. If this didn't have a maximum, it would be really good. But never mind, a 5-up Horde Buster spell might actually be better. Like, if you have 40 dice, right, and every 5-up is a mortal wound. You just do the math. If you have 40 of them, 13 mortal wounds, and this thing's going to deal a maximum of 5, right? 40 models times 1.67, which is 6-up. So this, having a 6-up Horde Buster spell is better against big blocks than a 4-up Horde Buster spell where you cap at 10. So, yeah. This is going to be better against smaller units. Like this is going to be ideal against units of 10. And it's going to deal 5 mortal wounds. Like, that's fine. As soon as the units... It's weird that as soon as the units start getting bigger, that this guy gets kind of worse. So that's unfortunate. This should have just been a 5-up with no limit. That would have been better if it was just a 5-up with no limit. But I don't know. Pretty underwhelming. Again, it's also because they don't have the fight another day, where they could just retreat after they fought. When these things used to be able to fight and then bounce away, it was great. Like they were great. So, but I don't really know. The damage is not super high. Like you can see like 4s and 4s, 4s and 4s, right? Companion weapons, you know, D6 damage, yuck. I don't know. I'm feeling kind of cool on these guys. Mangler Squig, same deal, probably just worse. Loon Boss on Mangler Squig, 260. Mangler Squig, 220. So this Rampage is almost better, though. If it charged, on a 3-up, it can move 3d6, but must end that move in combat. So this extra mobility is probably, I don't know, 5 mortal wounds is 5 mortal wounds. So I don't know. These big old meatballs. I think their points are going to come down, though. Probably overcosted because they're not really doing all that much. I feel like the Gitz book in general is overcosted compared to the other greenskin books. Sneaky Snufflers. I think that Sneaky Snufflers are good, but I don't know what role they fit anymore, right? Because on a 2-up Under the Light of the Bad Moon, a 3-up not Under the Light of the Bad Moon, you give a unit that's wholly within 12 a 5-up ward. They have to be a Moon Clan unit, so we're looking at... So, like, what unit is getting this? It's not Bounders, because they're moving too far away. Like, what is it? You know? Like, the Squigs, Stabashutas. So, like, are you giving this to Herd? Because a reinforced, yeah, the problem with Squig Herd too is that the more of them that you have, the less objective control that you have. So, like, if you're like, oh, my plan is to take a reinforced unit of them and to give them, you know, Squig Boss and Rabble Rouser and Sneaky Snufflers and pile them, hey, how you doing? And pile them into the middle of the map, well, there's still only like 22 wounds on a 5-up ward, which is not amazing considering they have a 6-up save, and they also can't control objectives. So the more Herd that you run, the fewer toes you have for objectives, and that's bad. Like, Squigs should have been faster this season. They should have been faster. And they should have just been like, yeah, they don't count for objectives, but they're great screens. Like, they're just amazing screens. They're going to run out there and just boing, 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 get ya. But they didn't do that. So, Snufflers are good. Are you playing 40 Stabas? Right? Are you going to have a 5-up ward on reinforced Stabas? And are you going to, like, you know, bring them back with their extra rally dice every turn? Like, if that's your game plan, this is your guy. I just don't know how good that game plan is. Or, to be honest, how fun it is. Right? Like, do you really, like, tons of movement trays and tons of models. Takes a really long time to take your turns. Right? Takes a really long time to pile in. And those things matter for me personally. Like, I try to play my game in an hour and a half. Like, my half of the game. That's always my goal. I'm like, I want to be able to play my side of the game in an hour and a half. Like, I play with the chess clock. Because, like, this game takes a really long time. And if I'm, like, having people over and we're having, like, you know, drinks and it's like a party, then who cares? Like, we'll go all night. But if, you know, if it's Saturday afternoon and I've left my family to go, you know, down to my local game store and play a game of Age of Sigmar, like, I'm there, you know, I'm there to have fun and all that and to be social and friendly, but I'm trying to play this game too so I can get out and go do the rest of my day as well, right? Or, like, I have a game I'm playing with a friend tonight and we're starting at 7 p.m. Well, I want to be leaving by, like, 10, 11. So when I get there, this is, like, a friend of mine that I play with quite regularly, so when I get there, I'm going to walk in, put my stuff down, I'm going to roll for priority. Like, that's going to be the first thing that I do, right? It's like, get out a die and I'm going to roll it, right? And then it's like, yeah, we can talk, but, like, let's start getting this game set up and everything too, right? So, I don't know. It's like, hey, I'm rolling 80 dice and I'm dealing 5 damage. It's like, well, cool. Like, the game hasn't progressed, even though it took a long time. I don't know. I've harped on this point a lot, so I just don't know what we are, because trolls have wards. Rock Guts have a 5-up ward. So I don't know what we're casting this on. To be honest, I'm kind of feeling like the Gloomspite Gitz book has been pulled in a few different directions, and like they just some of the styles and some of the things that we were doing previously are just kind of missing now. Like the herd list being gone, it's like, I don't know. How are you feeling about Gloomspite Gitz? Let me know in the comments below. How much are sneaky stuff? There's 140. Yeah. Snarlfang Riders are sweet. I just never fit them in a list. But getting a free redeploy is strong. And they're 130 points for 5. They don't really do any damage, unfortunately. This used to have rend, right? The jaws of the wolves used to have rend. But we're all very curious about the future of this because they have a keyword Gitmob, which is different from everything else. So I'm kind of wondering what that's going to look like. Are they their own faction coming in the future? And I would actually like them. I think that Gloomspite Gitz could actually break themselves off into at least 2 different books, right? But they could realistically be 3. You know, Spiders could have a book. Moon Clan, including Squigs, could have a book. Troggoths could have a book. So I don't know about Gitmob, but they could all have a book. And like, what do you think about this idea? Like, what do you think about having 3 different books, but there are units that are duplicated across those books? So while they do have 3 different books, all of them have Stabas. Right? All 3 books have Stabas, all 3 books have Shootas, kind of like what they did with Kragnos. They're not allies, they're just units that occur in multiple books. That could be pretty cool, right? You split up the Gloomspite Gitz books into 2 or 3 books, but they're not going to be like, oh, these are only trolls, right? But if you take trolls, you're not taking Squigs, right? You can't mix and match them. It's like there's a troll book, and there's like, we have our troll cavalry. You know, I don't know. It's an interesting idea. But Snarlfangs are cool. I like them. If I was still playing Big Wa, I would really be enjoying these new guys. Free redeploy is sick. They don't have their, like, pile-in or whatever, but the redeploy or redeploy in general is significantly better. Loon Smash of Fanatics. I want to play a list where you just teleport a unit to stab us somewhere and unload 2 reinforced units of Fanatics. That sounds awesome. Because they don't have to be, you don't have to pick what unit they're in. They just unload from any unit. And they have strike first. And if they're reinforced, they're getting 10 D6 attacks. Right? Because they have so there's 10 of them. And so the more that you have, the more that this D6 attacks is gonna, like, not feel bad, right? If you have like a big monster and he has D6 attacks, when you roll a 1, it feels bad. But if you have 10 of them, the more dice that you roll, the closer that you get to the average most of the time. So it's like they're going to throw out a lot of dice. Like, let's just Google this really quick. What is the average of 10d6? I don't want a website. I just wanted an answer. Whatever. Let's try this last thing and then we'll... Right, so the average is 35. So 35 dice? You give him a little all-out attack? In fact, should we just... Let's just do it for real. Let's just do it for real. Because, like, I think that their damage is actually a sleeper. 10 models, D6 attacks, and then what were we looking at here for damage? 4, 3, 2, D3. So 4, 3, 2, D3. And D3 damage is kind of scary too. Like, almost 20 damage against a 4-up save. Like, holy moly. Right? Fanatics are 140 points for 5. So they're kind of expensive, right? They're more expensive than Bounders are. But, like, their damage output is nutty. And the thing about them, too, is that they have this strike first. They just have strike first. No condition, nothing going on. They just sort of get strike first. There's a little bit of attacks where you have to play at least one unit of Stabas. But, I don't know. Like, it's like, just imagine this. And this is what I want to do. I want to create this play state. Because this is my play style, right? My opponent goes first. Cool. They do their stuff. Awesome. On their turn, with my +1 caster, I'm going to cast Hand of Gork. And I'm going to pick up a unit of Stabas, and I'm going to stick them over on their flank somewhere. And then I'm going to, let's see. Where is he? Any movement phase. Right, any movement phase, they get set up anywhere wholly within 6 of my Stabas and outside of 9. So my opponent gets to move, and then so I would just like calculate this out. But my opponent gets to move, and then I get to set up my 2 bricks of fanatics on their flank, and I'm sure that my opponent will not, like, it throws a wrench in their plan. They want it to come up the middle, and here I am on their flank. So their move is 2d6, which is super annoying, right? But it's like, whatever. Like, I'm unloading these strike first maniacs, and they're coming in, and I hope you're ready, because there's 20 of them, and they all have strike first. So, like, watch out. Yeah, I definitely want to do this. I don't know what that looks like in a list yet, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I don't even know what kind of list it is. Excuse me. Spore Splata Fanatics are significantly different than they were. I don't care. Right? Add one of the attack characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly moon clan units while they're wholly within 12. So what is this? Because it's not companion weapons, so it's not herd. It's Stabas, and it's like, well, who cares? Right? They can move in the deployment phase, but their move is 2d6. So they used to be a lot better where they blocked line of sight. And I don't really, yeah. They just whirl, like, this unit doesn't make sense to me anymore. Before it sort of made sense where they were like flinging around these big mushroom balls and creating like a cloud and then you can't see through it. Like that used to make sense to me, but the fact that they're like adding +1 attacks, like why not? I don't know. It just, whatever. Pass on those guys. Shooters, same thing, right? Like they are weird, but there's so many dice. Yeah, the Spore Splatters are weird. I don't understand where they were going with them. This is kind of what I mean though a little bit with the Gitz book. It's like, what is this? Right? Like, what is that? Like, what is it? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Shoot us or throw like a million dice and dealing no damage. No, thank you. But with this strategy, if I was going to do because like the Stabas, do the Stabas even do anything? Have we seen them yet? No, we haven't seen them yet. Stabas don't do anything. Musician, standard bearer, on a 3-up, -1 to hit rolls. on a 3-up. So they used to just be -1 to hit, but it is a lot. -1 to hit is a lot stronger now than it used to be. So that's fair enough. But I wish they just had like pile in 6. I don't know. I don't care about Stabus and Shooters at all. Oh, it's only for infantry, right? Like whatever. Boo earns. I think if I was gonna do that Fanatics, I'd probably take Shooters because at least I can shoot over the top. But if I just run a quick damage calculation, just because I'm curious. So 20 models, right? They come in 20s. 2 attacks each, 4s and 5s, 0, 1. So all of these, I'm throwing all these dice and dealing 3 damage against a 4-up save. Playgroup played that wrong last week. What did they do? Oh, they didn't have the infantry. They just gave -1 to on a 3-up. Yeah, bummer. I don't know what they're supposed to be. I don't know what they're supposed to do. In third, Stabas, we're really good at grabbing objectives because we can grab them from further out, so we can like be a lot of feet on objectives and be even further away from you to charge at us. You know, like I understood what their role was and they were good at it. You could take 25, you could take 20 of them and line them up in a straight line, so they were excellent screens. But now they can't do that. They have to be in 2 ranks and they don't grab objectives outside, and it's like everything has been stripped from them. I would have liked the netters, like, I don't know. It's kind of a miss. A lot of units are misses in the Gitz book, I feel. So, I don't know. I'm not really interested in playing Shooters and Stabas. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments below. Talked about Herd a bit. Honestly, if they were better, they would be oppressive with how much recursion. Yeah, like I guess. But then make them more expensive? I don't know. Like, but let them fill a role. Like, they're not like, I don't know. I'm not sure what they're supposed to be. Like, I don't know what they do in an army. Right? They're not anvils. They're not hammers. They're screens, I guess. But I don't know. They're slow. They don't take up as much space anymore. I don't know. They're not a, I don't know. Maybe someone's out there like screaming it that I'm totally off base. Let me know. Same thing with Herd, right? They're slower. They can't control objectives. They only have 1 health now, which is fair and fine, but still. You know what would have been cool is if the... Never mind. Never mind. That would have still been crazy. Yep, still looking for a way to play Herd. Still haven't really been able to find it. I don't know what they're supposed to be, and I don't know what they're supposed to do. They're screens, I guess. But not particularly good ones. I mean, they probably deal a high amount of damage per point. That's probably what they're good at. Because if I look at them here, let's say that there's 10 models, 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 random, 1 damage. Yeah, they probably deal, so it's like going to be... Yeah, they're going to have a really high damage per point. That's what they're supposed to be. Okay, sweetie, just go put it in the living room and I'll come get it later. Damn, my daughter loves me. It's so annoying. I don't know. It's like they recur, but it's... I don't know what they're supposed to do. I don't know what they're supposed to do. Because they're not fast. So it's like they deal a lot of damage per point, but they also just melt. Right? Like if they're a... And like they don't want to be reinforced anymore because they don't have any control. Right? So it's better to have 2 units of them than it is to have a single unit. Like than to have a reinforced unit, I mean. So, I don't know. I don't really understand. Loon Boss on Giant Cavesquake. Now we're talking. This guy's sweet. He's relatively fast. Actually, well, compared to other stuff. But he's not particularly fast. Right? 10 is sort of the range of like lots of those like monsters and stuff that have that 10 movement. So 10 is like decently fast, 12 is starting to get fast, and then 14 is like fast in this game right now. So, you know, the fact he gets to reroll the move die, so the probability that he's getting 4 or greater on that reroll is good. So he's sort of in that club of like the 10 movement. So he's fairly fast. He does okay damage by himself, but he pulls a unit of bounders into the fight. And they also get +1 to hit if they fight with him. Something that the Loon boss I don't think gave. Like the regular Loon boss. So giving +1 to hit to bounders is great because bounders hit on 4s. So this is a way of getting all out attack without having to spend a command point. Very good, very strong. Big fan. I think almost every Gitz list I'll play, a lot of them are going to have bounders in them, and a lot of them therefore are going to maybe have a Loon boss. He's also really good with Loon touched, and he's really good with Loon touch. There's a lot of spells that have a short range, like the Spore Maw or the Cloud or whatever it is, which gives a -1 to hit aura to enemy units that are within 12 or wholly within 12. I think it might be wholly within, but within 12. So he's able to do that. He's able to like cast those spells and then run up and smash in and actually benefit from that. We're on page 23 here. So I'll just show you exactly what I'm talking about here. It's like sneaky distraction, right? -1 to hit rolls, wholly within 12. Yep. So it's pretty good. And then this one, right? Pick 3 visible enemy units within 12, right? And then it's 2 up D3, but it's 3 enemy units. So if he gets into kind of the fight, like if he's kind of in there, or at least out on the flanks, the probability that he'll be close enough to pick 3 units is actually not bad. So, and then he can throw out manifestations, right? Like he can be out there running around on the map and throwing out manifestations. Like it's pretty good. So I like him. I like him with Loon touched. I like him without Loon touched. I think he's good. Hoppers are okay. They're cheaper than bounders for 10, and so they're gonna get some play just because they're gonna choke up the sides and take objectives. They also have a pretty good movement phase ability. Roll a die for each model in this unit that passed across the target units on a 4-up. So if you can get all 10 to pass across something in the movement phase, it's going to be a lot of mortal wounds, right? 10 dice on a 4-up, so 5 mortal wounds is legit. So, and these guys are actually fast, right? Because they're 8 plus D6, and hopefully with re-rolling this, they're going to be in that 10 to 14 club of speed. So looks pretty good to me. Do you think the little handle they hold on to is just part of the squig? Gross. Bounders. Bounders actually kind of slap. They're that medium kind of fast. 2 up D3 on the charge. But they have charge +1 damage. And then if they're going with the boss is going to give them all-out attack here. It's not going to affect the companion weapons, right? But it is going to change it from 4s and 4s to 4s to 3s and 4s, which is pretty good. And if you're playing Jaws of Mork, they'll get 1 more attack on the Fang-filled Gob. So lots of damage potential here. Definitely worth playing. 5 come in a unit. But when they're reinforced, like when there's 10 of them, like they will destroy things, especially if they're running with the boss. Very strong. I go back and forth on Trug. I'm not sure how I feel about Trug overall. 4-up save, 16 wounds. He's slow, 6 move, right? And a low volume of dice with only 6 attacks, and 2 of those attacks being on 4s. Like his wound is high, his rend is good, his damage is good, but he's got a low volume of attacks, and his hit is not great. So if you have 2 attacks on 4s, like the probability that none of these things are getting through, like his Mighty Antlers with only 2 attacks, is actually pretty high. It's like on a 4-up, well, 1 of these is gone, right? And then 2-up, right? And then a save. You know, it's like, I don't know. Crushing Grip, whatever. Greater Regeneration, whatever. He's going to be hard to kill, right? because he's also has the potential of a 5-up ward. It's for one of his Leyline abilities or Laystone abilities. You roll 3 dice and then you pick one of the numbers on the chart, right? So, you know, one of them is D3 mortal wounds to himself. One is probably the best one is +1 attacks to friendly Troggoth units while they're wholly within 12. So hopefully this is 2 reinforced units of rock guts. So that's 12 extra rock gut attacks, which is a lot of extra attacks, right? Adding rend is worse, but still fine. Unbinding as if you had Wizard 1 is fine. Get rid of some of those endless spells off the board, but I tend to be 3 casts when I play Gitz, so that extra unbind is not like super important. Like I'd rather him just be smashing. -1 from shooting rolls, the target Troggoth units while they're wholly within 12, like that'll be situationally fine, but probably not. And then this unit has a 5-up ward. So he's either buffing rock guts around him or he's got a 5-up ward. So either one of those is good and fine. If you get the 5-up ward, then send him in. If he doesn't, then don't, right? But he's gonna be hard to kill. The 5-up ward is gonna let him be in combat for a turn and probably regenerate with his D6 heal, especially because he has to do it at the start of any turn and after he fights. If he's got that 5-up ward, he's not going to take very much damage that turn and probably like catch up with his healing. So I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about him, but I'll play him some more. Dankhold Trugboss. I think the Dankhold Trugboss is good. I think that the fact that he can be he can brought with Trug in his unit makes him even better. He's got the nice 4-up spell ignore, and he also adds +1 attacks to a friendly unit of Troggoths, or like a rock gut. Oh no, while they're in this unit's combat range, and so that also applies to Trug, because Trug is also a Troggoth. So adding more dice to Trug is legit. So I think you can definitely play him. I think he's definitely good. I think he'll either take if you're playing trolls, I think he'll either take the place of Trug in a regiment, or he will be added to a Trug regiment. So, but I think he's good. I think his buff is good. It's on a 3-up, right? So it's not super guaranteed, but and if he doesn't have this buff, he's not really doing all that much. At least it's any combat phase, so you get to do this 10 times over the course of the game. So, and he's hard to kill. He also is pretty good at taking enhancements. He likes the, I can't remember what it's called, if it's the Git shield, where it's like where attack rolls of 1 ping back to the opponent as immortal, and that's pretty good, right? Like he's a kind of with that artifact, he's kind of like an anti-horde guy. He like wanders in and then boom, he gets bounces back a bunch of damage, right? So that's kind of cool. He's a monster, so we can run in charge. No ward on this guy though. 4-up save 12 wounds. Dankhold is significantly better. 4-up save 10 wounds, but he's got Wade and Smash, where he can move, and there's no roll. He just can move 6 inches, right? And then it's a 2-up D3 for each enemy within 1. Like, it's good. It's 4 attacks, right? It's not very much, right? With 4s and 2s. But I feel like his job is to kind of wade and smash into something squishy in their backline that they don't want you to get to. I feel like that's his job. And I think he does it incredibly well. And he's only 180 points. So he's cheap. Fillwater Troggoths, I think, are a miss. They lost their -1 to hit, which was, in this edition, would have been their strongest ability. And they, subtracting 1 from save rolls and ignoring positive modifiers doesn't feel as good because there's less save stacking in the game than there used to be. So subtracting 1 from save rolls is kind of the same as giving +1 rend. And do rock guts need +1 rend, really? Like, it's okay. You know, it's okay. They deal more damage than rock guts do, but with a 5-up save, right, and no ward, it's like, well, here's your sneaky Snuffler target, by the way. If you really wanted to play Snufflers, I think it's with these guys. Because they deal more damage than rock guts do. So if you can also give them a 5-up ward, they're going to have a 4-up save under the light of the bad moon instead of a 3-up save, but they'll also have so they're going to be a little bit less survivable, but with Snufflers, then they're going to be actually putting up more damage. I think that's, these are, no, because Snufflers have to pick a Moon Clan. Never mind. I'll pass on these guys. I think rockets are just better every time because rockets are fantastic. 4-up save, which becomes a 3-up under the light of the bad moon with 5 wounds. Their boulder is whatever. They get 1 attack each, so it's going to be 3 attacks for the unit. 5s, but right, who cares? So you might get a D3 damage through, but the regular attacks on 4s and 2s with 2 rend and 3 damage is sick. If you can get, so this is a unit of 3 is going to throw 6 dice, right? So if you give them all an attack 3, 2, 2, 3 is a very strong profile. They heal. With Trogherd, they heal after they fight. Like, there's all kinds of good stuff going on here. And then they have good, like, buff pieces. So they're fantastic. Nice 5-up board. These guys are going to be hard to shift. Very hard to shift. Spider Riders. Spider Riders right now are pointed at 110 points. Next to Herd, they're the cheapest unit in the game. They move on 10 inches. There's 5 models. They can fly over terrain, right? They have a standard bearer and a musician and a champion. So Spider Riders, I think, are legit if you're just looking for a fast screen. If you want something that's going to run up the flanks and get you a battle tactic, like take their whatever, then these guys are good, right? The problem is that Bounders are only 10 more points. And Bounders also come in groups of 5 and deal significantly more damage. I don't think... And Bounders can fly too, I guess. Do Squigs still have that? Do they still have fly? Yeah, they do. So they just have fly. Right? These guys have terrain fly. Bounders just have fly. These guys are more consistent in their move. Right? Because, yeah. You'd see Spider Riders are a decent replacement for Herd. I mean... In what sense? Like the way that they used to be played? I mean, they're a fast screen, right? So if you have 110 points left in your list, I think Spider Riders are fine. Well, Herd in 3rd weren't a screen. They were a tar pit hammer. If you got into them, they just would never die, and they were gonna chew up whatever they were fighting. They were scary. Now, I don't think Herd are a very good screen because they're not very quick. They're not a hammer anymore. I don't know what they are anymore. Like, one sec. Like, you could take 72 Herd in 3rd, and it was a good list. I don't know if you can take any Herd anymore. We'll see what happens over the course of 4th, but I don't know. People are like, I saw a comment on a video of mine the other day. Someone was like, oh, can you play Gitz without it being like rock gut spam? And I said, yeah, Bounder spam. Because that's kind of how I feel about it right now. Bounders and rock guts. If your list isn't full of Bounders and rock guts, I feel like you're missing out. Web Spitter Shaman's actually kind of cool because I really like this ability. You pick a terrain feature because you're probably not playing a lot of Spiderfang units. Within 18, not wholly within, just within 18. And on a 2-up, he can like teleport to them. So movement abilities are good, right? And he gives run in charge. So this is another way of giving like a Skitterstrand or Ragnarok run in charge. You can like, you can drop him in, right? Teleport this guy over and hope, because you can do this in your hero phase. This web slingshot, you do it in your hero phase. You can do this and then you can cast your spell. So the Skitterstrand can come in within 18 of him. He can teleport over, and then he can give run in charge. And besides that, he is just a Wizard 1, right? He's got a 6-up ward, which is fine, but he's a Wizard 1 who has this weird teleport thing where he can teleport on terrain features. So, like, it's kind of cool. Like, you can get your Wizard where you need to get him. Spider, let's see, where is he? Web Spitter Shaman. Only problem with him is that he's 40 more points. Yeah, he can place manifestations in good spots. Yep. But unfortunately, he's 40 more points than a Fungoid Cave Shaman. He could be good with a Troglist. Yeah, of course. Like, his thing is that he teleports around the map. Right? That's his thing. He teleports around the map. For 40 more points. Is that worth it? Sometimes I think it'll be worth it. He's the only guy that can keep up with Squigs, right? If your bounders are running around and your plan is that you want to have whatever, some buffs on them or something. Not that I know what buff you would really be placing on them. Yeah, we're on page 32. Another problem too is that I don't know what spells, like what's he casting? His unique spell is fine, but what's are you playing spiders? Like, I'm not playing spiders. Spiders are kind of trash again this season. Or this edition. So, I don't know what, like, I'm not playing spiders. So, it's just the Skitter Strand, right? That's going to be potentially coming in. But even then, probably not. Having him big base size, like, I think that the Maw Crusher, like that big, what is it, 160? It's too big. Anything that's on that base size there are not many buffing spells in Gitz anymore. Nope, teleport spell. He could Spore Maw's probably his go-to, right? Because he's gonna teleport in and then be close. So like 2-up D3 on 3 different units is like a good spell, right? He could also do Sneaky Distraction. -1 to hit rolls is strong. Well, yeah, yeah. Using to pressure parts of the board. I think he's fine. I think that, like, teleporting units is good. Right? Yep. I'm not sure if he's worth 40 points. More than a Fungoid. Right? So, like, he can teleport in throughout the moon. So, I don't know. 40 points is a lot of points. But I could see, like, looking at a list and having 40 points left and being like, okay, like, I'll take this dude. But the Fungoid having +1 power level once per game is also, like, nothing to sneeze at. The Fungoid fits better. Yeah, he's cheaper. He can also take an Agitator, right? And the Web Spinner Shaman can take any Spider Fang. Never mind. Trash. Changed my mind. He can only take Spider Fang. Never taking him. Never taking the Web Spinner Shaman ever, ever, ever. Because I don't want to take any Spider Fang units. So, done. Over. Right? Fungoid can take any Moon Clan. So he can take Bounders. He can take Bounders. Right? But the Fungoid can also take an Agitator. And the Web Spinner Shaman can take Spider Fang. Yep, hard pass. Hard pass. Really too bad. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of discussion about this. About how, like, what units are taking what stuff. And we'll see. Like, these regiment options, these are things that will change over the course of this edition. Right? The war scrolls that we get won't. Z tier army, yeah. Well, I think it is cool in theory. I think it is cool in theory, but I'm feeling like, you know, in the press stuff for 4th, they were like, oh, like, you can take whatever you want in your list, because you technically can, but sitting here as a more competitive player, it's like my lists are way more restricted now than they were before. Significantly more restricted. It's like, what am I supposed to be, you know? If you like playing uphill, you can take whatever you want. Yeah, exactly. But, I don't know. Like, for example, I thought for sure that Gobsprak would unlock Swamp Color Shamans. That makes sense to me. Right? So you could take Gobsprak and 3 Swamp Colors. Because Gobsprak's unique, right? And then you can only have the 1, and then you can take, or maybe you can include 1 Swamp Color Shaman with a Gobsprak. That makes sense to me. It's like he's this master wizard, and he can bring in another wizard. Even if it was just 1. 1, it's fine. But Web Spinner Shaman, sorry guys. Sorry. I don't want to talk about the spiders. They're just a pass. Let's talk about 1. Which one do you think is the best spider? Which one's the best? I'm super curious about results this weekend. Would be totally truthful. Yeah, we'll see. I think number of drops is going to be 3. I think everyone's going to try to be 3 or fewer. I think that if you're... So right now, this is kind of what I'm seeing. Right? Let me just pull up whatever. I'll pull up an Iron Jaws. My Iron Jaws list. Here's what I'm seeing. So this is 3 drops. There's only 2 units that are my general and the regiment. Just 2. Everything else is in another regiment. Because if my opponent kills one of these, they get a tactic. So in my Cruel Boys lists... It's a Swamp Kala and a unit of Bolt Boys. I'm essentially denying my opponent a tactic. There's only 8 tactics that they can take. So all I have to do is try to... So this one I'm just denying from the beginning of the game. Like, you're not going to get me. Right? You're not going to get these guys. They're going to be hard to kill. So if you're only 2 drops, you're going to have a lot of stuff in the regiment, right? You're gonna have a lot of stuff in your general's regiment if you're 2 drops. So if you have like priority target, like me with my Bolt Boys with priority target, like you're gonna give me priority target against half of your army, you know? And so there's that. Like there are disadvantages to being 2 drops. So, and then when you're at 4 drops, you're getting kind of high. Like my Cruel Boys list is 4 drops. So I think most people are going to be trying to find that sweet spot at 3 drops. So if your list is 3 drops, you're rolling the dice to see who goes first most of the time. So, and it's like, it's okay. I kind of wish that like those things didn't matter at all. To be fair, I kind of wish that like, I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of wish that like who went first was just a roll off at the table. You know, let's drop 1 unit at a time. I don't know. So which is the best Arachnarok spider? Because I'll just look at this one. This is the War Party one. So it's on a 4-up, 16 health, so lots of health. No keywords except for monster. It has fly over terrain. It's rampage in the once per turn army, any charge phase. Pick 3 enemy units within 1 inch of the target, 2-up D3. Ooh. So 3 units, 2-up D3, not bad. But the rest of it, Crooked Spear, 10 attacks, 4s and 5s, no rend. Nope, terrible. Spider Fangs, so crit mortal, but there's only 4 dice. There's only 4 attacks, and only 1 rend. Like, meh. Chitinous Legs, 4s and 2s, 1 rend, 1 damage companion. It's like, this unit, let's see, what's it called? Arachnarok Spider. 280 points. Not that expensive, but I don't know. They just don't do anything. Web Spinner Shaman is a Wizard 1. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to discuss them. Skitter Strand's the best one. Probably won't even use that. Flinger. Like, whatever. Okay. So now for manifestations. Scuttletide's good. You're never going to have this 4-up ward. It's actually not that good. 8 attacks, 4s and 4s, 0, and they have crit mortal, so I guess it's a source of mortal wounds, but it's okay. Mork's Mighty Mushroom. This thing's okay too. It's kind of a horde buster, but not a very good one. So it's actually kind of a little bit weak, I feel. Like, this Gravetide puts this thing to shame. The moon is obviously the best one because you're getting that light. But I think that for the first 3 battle rounds, you probably don't need it. You know? Because, like, the trolls are, like... This is another... What I was talking about before about the Gitz book and how I feel like it's weird. Only the trolls care about the light of the bad moon. Nothing else cares about the light of the bad moon. Rerolling the move characteristic die is like... It used to be run in charge. It used to be add a d6 to the movement. Right? Like add a run and then charge. Now it's re-roll a d6, which is so much worse than rolling an extra d6. So... It's like, I don't... Like, what, do you even want this? Like, I guess. Arachna Cauldron is actually good. Add 1 to the power level. it can move too, so it can keep up with Littlefoot Wizards. This one's actually good. So I think you cast this every turn, right off the beginning. Right? Because adding to the power level is sick. We're on page 40 here. Because then in combination, you take it with Loon Touched. Right? Add one of the casting rolls. So we're +1 to cast. And then we're 2 power. So a Fungoid Cave Shaman, that's +1 to cast, power level 2. And a Scraggrot the Loon King, that's 2 casts. And so suddenly you have 4 casts in 2 drops. Which is good. Right? I'm a fan. So the Arachnid Cauldron, you probably cast this first every single time. And then the Bad Moon Loon Shrine is good. It's fine. I think you place this more aggressively with, you place this more aggressively than you did previously, because I think you want your opponent to fight it. I think you want your opponent to kill this thing, because you're probably not really using the Moon Clan lair. Right? Because the ability is worse than it was before. Right? The Bad Moon, like, I remember in 3rd edition, I was playing, like, the Clammy Hand and King's Gitz, so I would get to do this effect twice and get to re-roll it if I failed it, and it still wasn't super impactful. You know, by the, like, my units would be dying, like, round 2, round 3, and then I'd bring them back, but it still didn't feel super impactful, so the fact that it now costs a command point to do instead, I feel like this is going to be worse than it was, but all of our opponents are going to still feel like the Loon Shrine is something that needs to die, and so you let them do 14 damage on a 4-up save, right? And then they're like, they're attacking it, and you're like, okay. If they deal 14 damage to this, that's more than the unit's health that you might be getting. Exactly. So I feel like you bait them. You put this out, you put this aggressively forward, and it has to be wholly within your territory, but it doesn't have to be within your deployment zone, right? And it has to be like away from objectives and everything. So I feel like you could place this pretty aggressively and make some interesting choke points so that your Rock Guts don't get surrounded, and give off the Light of the Bad Moon more in the center of the battlefield. This might help in the first turn, or if, like, later in the game when the moon sort of goes away. And then if your opponent is fighting this to kill it, okay, fine. Right? Oh, like, that's, like, go ahead. Kill my Loon Shrine. I don't care. But then pretend you care. Right? But I don't think we do care. Anyway, that's like me working up to doing a tier list. Still gotta get more games in, and so do you. But until then, like, subscribe. Wow.